Alright, what's up guys? My name is Zack, and for the last week, I've been driving the 2026 Nissan Sentra SL. Up front is a 2.0 liter inline 4, and down below is a CVT. Now, I am super excited to be making this video here today because I've spent not only the last week driving the Sentra SL, but I've done over 1,100 miles in this particular Sentra. I took it from Chicago down to Nashville, Tennessee, and back again in my week with this car. And so today we're going to be doing a little bit of an extended review here on the Sentra and see if it's not only a good road trip car, but what you get for that nearly $31,000 price tag. But if you'd like to submit your own vehicle and have it reviewed here on the channel, you can head on over to my website, zackpradel.com/submit. It's a quick and easy submission form. It takes under a minute to fill out, and I come out to you. And if you'd like to see all my videos weeks or sometimes months in advance, you can head on over to my Patreon for only $5 a month. But let's get back to that 2-liter inline 4 under the hood. Well, it makes about 149 horsepower. Is this a power-hungry monster? No, not even in the slightest. And even in this segment, it is down on power. This engine is carried over from the last generation of Sentra with no power jump. It's fine. Honestly, getting on and off the highway, it's a little cumbersome, but beyond that, it's a fine engine. It does the job, and I didn't really notice any power deficit besides the one night I was in Nashville and I went from driving an R35 GTR Skyline Edition back into the Sentra. Yeah, this felt like it was lacking a little bit of power then, but honestly, the rest of the 1,100 miles, I never felt like I really needed more power. It was good enough. Like I said, paired to it is a CVT. Now, the CVT has been switched and modified in the last couple of years, and they are more reliable. Nissan is taking their CVT reliability very, very seriously, and we'll talk about that with the final thoughts segment. But it has been re-geared and updated since the older days. I know CVT has become somewhat of a swear word with cars like this, especially coming from Nissan. They've definitely had CVT woes in the past, but from what I've been told, what I'm hearing, and what I'm experiencing, it seems like most of those woes are in the past. So I have a little bit more confidence in this CVT, but of course, time will tell. Last but not least, the Sentra is front-wheel drive, as it is only available in front-wheel drive. How does it feel to drive the Sentra SL? It's nice. Sitting on the highway at 80 miles an hour, it does the job. Is it a quiet disconnection from the road beneath you? No. Of course, you still feel the bumps. You still hear the road, but it is a pleasurable experience. I never felt myself like going stir crazy because of the cabin noise, or my back wasn't breaking. These seats are incredibly comfortable, and we'll talk more about them in a second, but it's a nice quality ride. It does the job, and again, you have to remember that this is, for most of the trim levels, a sub $30,000 car. This particular SL has all the bells and whistles, so it's going to push it above that number, but really you should be looking at this as a sub 30 grand car, and it rides and drives like a good one. That stuff out of the way, let's talk about the interior. Well, in front of me, I have a completely digital gauge cluster. This has been really easy to read and see throughout my time with it. At a quick glance, you know what you're looking at. It's not too busy, it's not too convoluted, and I like that a lot. On the steering wheel, on the left, we do have adaptive cruise. Works fantastic. I did several hundred miles in adaptive cruise mode, and I never felt unsafe. I felt like it did actually a really, really good job. We also have volume off to the left, and then off to the right, we have our selectors for the gauge cluster screen, as well as skip track and phone options. Off to the left, we do have our climate control vent, trunk release, heated steering wheel, and steering assist. And moving on to the door, we have our latch to get in and out. It says Sentra next to it. I like that little touch. Power locks, power mirrors, and power windows. Moving into the center, we have our infotainment display. This does have wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, and it is piped through a Bose sound system. The sound system truly blew me away. For a $30,000 car, this has a very good sound system. I mentioned it in my CX-90 video, but I also have a CX-90 at home right now to test out and review as well. That video is probably already up by now. This Sentra's sound system sounds better than that nearly $60,000 Bose sound system in that Mazda. So, very, very good, deep bass, been very, very enjoyable throughout my time with it. We also do have a backup camera and 360 camera. Very nice to have 360 camera on a vehicle like this. It's clear, it works, and I like that a lot. Down below, we do have climate control vents, hazard switch, camera button, skip track, and volume knob. And then we have our climate control settings. Dual zone climate controls, love that. Fan speed. And this is the sort of buttons that aren't buttons. They're capacitive touch buttons. I honestly didn't really worry about these. They were easy enough to use, and they responded immediately, so no complaints. Down below that, we have two USB-Cs and a 12-volt outlet, as well as a wireless charger. We have the on-off button to the left of that, and then we move into the center. So shifter off to the left, very, very standard shifter, no news there. Below that, we have our drive mode select for Eco, Standard, and Sports. I left it in Standard the entire week with the car, and I liked it. Power parking brake, auto holding brake, and our auto start stop on and off. And then we have cup holders off to the right. That will do a big friggin' bottle test, and sadly, it fails. However, just a side note, the Nissan GTR that I drove, actually both Nissan GTRs that I drove, do pass the big friggin' bottle test. So there is a Nissan that passes. The Sentra is just not one of them. Then we do get a giant center console, great for holding Buc-ee's beaver nuggets, but nothing else really in there. And then we have the seats. The seats are heated. The driver's seat is power. And in talking to Nissan, one of the guys on the project actually told me, he said, I think we overspent on the seats. They are very, very comfortable. These seats belong in something more expensive than $30,000. I've spent almost 24 hours sitting in this seat throughout my time. This is what the drive time recorder told me. Just under 24 hours. My back did not hurt once, and my back is notorious for hurting on long drives. They are really, really fantastic seats. Are they the most comfy seats I've ever been in? No. Are they the most comfy seats I've been in for 30 grand and below? Yes. Far and away, yes, yes, yes. So they have been wonderful in that regard. However, speaking of seats, we do have back seats. So let's go do a back seat review. I did get my little Buc-ee's sticker when I went down to the Buc-ee's in Kentucky. There you go. Stepping into, let me unbuckle this. Stepping into the back of the Nissan Sentra. Closing it up here. One thing I forgot to mention about the interior, and you can see it up on the dash, the dashboard is blue. Like this part, like not the back part, not this part, but this part is blue. Blue, blue, blue. Very interesting. Once we are back here, we have a USB-C and then another USB-C and USB-A. Love that crossover in technology. Nissan has told me that Japan loves using USB-A. The rest of the world is adapting to USB-C, so it is a big fight within the Nissan corporate structure of what USBs they're going to use in what cars. So kind of funny to see that. We do have the same sort of material carrying on back here. This nice stitching for the SL really has a very presentable look that I would expect out of an Infiniti product, but we're in a $30,000 Nissan product. Opening this up here, we do have two cup holders. Love to see that. Knee room is not fantastic. This is my driving position, and my knees are coming close to touching this. I could move it up and be nicer, but my head's not hitting the ceiling. 5'11", not a small guy, pretty large guy, some would say. So I've been told in the comments that I'm big. Never knew that, so thanks for pointing that out. But I fit back here. I fit in the back of the Sentra, and that's a big win. You know, this is a lot more comfortable than the Mazda 3. I would say the Honda Civic has more rear seat space than the Sentra, but still this is good. This is passable. So, you know, it gets a C+, and that's, hey, C's get degrees, baby. That's what we get. The Mazda gets a D-, and the Honda Civic gets like a B+, A- sort of range. So if you're curious about back seats, how I would rank them, that's it. And the Corolla's pretty on brand with this. So yeah, like C+, around there. Anyway, speaking of space, let's hop into the very back. We'll take a quick look at the trunk where all my luggage was, and then we'll talk about the looks. All right, around the back of the Sentra SL, button right here underneath the Nissan badge, up above the license plate. And once we are back here, it's fine enough. Is this an incredible cathedral amount of space? No, not quite. However, I did have my equipment case, a giant tote for my RC car, and then all my luggage all within this space, and there is still room to spare. So if you're going on a weekend trip, week-long trip, road trip across the country, you'll be able to fit stuff back here. It's very, very usable. We can also lower the back seats by pressing these. And as you can see here, don't mind all my stuff, you can now use the pass-through. So there is a little bit of a border on the pass-through. It's not gonna be giant. I don't think you'll be able to fit a couch in here, but you can fold down the back seats for some more added storage around the back. And I did not close this. There we go. It's getting very windy now, but that is the rear trunk space of the Sentra SL. Now we gotta talk about the looks, and I like the look. The SL gets actually different accents than the SR. So last fall, I went on the press drive for the SR down in Phoenix, Arizona, and you'll notice some of the differences there. I'll show the SR after this with the SL, but this has a little bit more color matching and a little bit less aggressive, no lip spoiler at the back, things like that. I think this actually looks pretty handsome. It's presentable and it looks new. So that's the biggest thing. You buy a new car, you want it to feel new, and this most certainly does. But here's the SL by comparison. As you can tell, a lot bolder colors are available on the SR, different wheels, things like that. So overall, I like the classiness of the SL, which is going to be the highest trim level. With all of that being said, let's get on to my final thoughts. What do I think spending 1,100 miles and 24 hours behind the wheel of the Nissan Sentra SL? Well, I want to talk about that SR that I drove for a quick second. I drove that car last fall, way before it had ever been released to the public. And I drove that car at a press event. A press event is when a company flies you to a location, puts you up in a swanky hotel. This hotel was the global ambassador in Phoenix, Arizona, where the coffee shop is shared between the training facility with the Phoenix Suns. So we would get coffee in the morning, rubbing elbows with NBA players. It was an insane experience. But when filming on a press trip, you don't have a whole lot of time. You're usually partnered up with someone. You don't have a whole ton of time. There's never enough time to film the car. So we did these quick little drives throughout Phoenix, saw some really cool desert landscapes, and then I flew home. On that drive, on that review of the SR, I liked it, but I wasn't head over heels for it. It didn't really do much for me. Now that I've spent so much more time in the SL, so many more miles, so many more conditions, I drove this in the pouring rain. I drove this through fog where I could barely see the end of my hood. I drove this at night. I drove it in the morning. I drove it tired. I drove it hopped up on caffeine. I drove this car a lot. I like it a lot more than I originally did. It does a lot of things very, very well. It is comfortable. It has enough power. I was worried about the CVT earlier, and as I mentioned, Nissan is monitoring their CVT reliability like hawks. Anytime a vehicle comes in with a bad CVT, it is sent on a red piece of paper to Nissan HQ, and they compile that, and they are actively trying to fix all of these issues. They really, really are. Does that mean you're going to have a flawless experience? I don't know, but I think there's a better chance every day that you'll have a good experience. The sound system was great. It drove nice. I got about 37 miles to the gallon, which that was averaging 80 miles an hour on the highway. If I dropped it below 70, I was averaging well into the 40s. So the fuel economy is certainly there without needing a hybrid system. 40 miles to the gallon while driving on the highway is great. I just wanted to get to Nashville a little bit quicker, so I dipped in the fuel economy in order to save some time. I am really, truly very, very pleased with this car. And that's the biggest thing, is the price tag, is that all of this together, if this was $60,000, I would say it's not worth your time. The fact that it starts well below 30 and that this one's only just barely peaking above $30,000, I think in today's climate is very, very good. The only other car that I really compare this to would be the Honda Civic Si, because that's about the same price, but that's also a different buyer. That's a stick shift sporty car. I don't think many people are cross-shopping the luxury version of the Sentra against the Civic Si. So for the price tag, I'm very, very pleased, and I think this is a very good product. Nissan is actively making it better and better, and it's cool to see that in real time. Maybe I wasn't a believer before, But now, after the 1,100 miles, after the 24 hours in the car, after taking it through 4 different states, I'm a believer now, and that's what matters. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Huge thank you to Nissan, not only for letting me borrow their Nissan Sentra, but letting me take it down to their headquarters in Nashville, for meeting the team, talking to people who developed and worked on this car, figuring out how Nissan's corporate structure works, showing me and telling me how they handle recalls, how they monitor that situation and keep an eye on things to keep their customers happy. It was really an eye-opening experience. It was a trip of a lifetime, and I was so thankful to do it here in the Nissan Sentra. Huge thank you to G. Schmitz for facilitating the cleaning of this vehicle, and of course the Midwest Automotive Media Association. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to rate the video, comment on the video, and subscribe if you really liked it. Take care, guys.